Good morning, students. And today we are going to study. I'm going to explain you Unit 1 of Civics, and the name of the chapter is Equality in Indian Democracy. And let me tell you that previously I had uploaded one video in which equality in Indian democracy has been mentioned. I guess you got some picture out of it. And moreover, there is one chapter in class 6 where you will study about the democracy of India, and moreover equality also. So based on that standard, today I'm going to explain you and I'm going to illustrate few topics out here. So and on top of that, I'm using this chapter, and I have already sent you, and today also right away I'm going to send you this, and please go through the chapter, and it's very easy chapter. And to make it more easy, and I'm going to read out few passages which are quite tricky, and I'll explain those things also. So this is class chapter 1 of civics chapter 1, and the name of the chapter is equality in Indian democracy. Okay, this is going to be the name of the chapter. First of all, students, let me tell you that what is this equality in Indian democracy means. So let me explain you the main theme of this chapter, or the headings of the chapter, because if you don't know the headings, you won't be able to understand the whole chapter. First of all, let's discuss what is equality. The term equality has been derived from one word, which is equal. When we say equal, it means same. So equality has been derived from a word which is equal, and equal means same. According to this context, in the democracy of India, every citizen of India is same and equal, and there is no discrimination which is based on caste, creed, color, sex, gender, and place of birth. And apart from that, this democracy, the word democracy means where there is a supreme power of the people, and in a democracy the government is elected by the people, and the government can be removed by the people itself, and the people can select the people, elect the people, and they can remove the government with a context which is called as voting. So the term equality means equal. Equal means same. In a democracy, every individual is same. So democracy is a form of government where the people's power is supreme. And it is also said that democracy is by the people, for the people, and to the people. Which means in a democratic form of government, the government is made by the people, and government will work for the people, and government is liable to the people. So it is said as for by the people, for the people, and to the people as well. So let's, I hope you understood this topic. So let's get inside the chapter now. Okay, now the chapter, it's based on equality. Let me read out from the chapter. Number 1. Okay, in Indian democracy, in class 6, we looked at the key element of a democratic government. This includes people participation, the resolution of conflict, and equality and justice. Equality is a key feature of democracy and influence all aspects of its function. And in case of democracy, democracy, the main pillar of democracy is equality, which means all are same and equal. And moreover, in this chapter, we will read more about equality and what it is, why it is important in democracy, whether or not everyone is equal in India or not. So in this chapter, we will find out why equality is important in democracy. Number 1, why equality is important in democracy. Number 1. And number 2 is, why is equality important? And number 2 is every individual in this nation is equal? We have to find out this. and I'm going to explain you about this in this chapter. So let's go on forward. Now there is an illustration which is of Kanta's illustration, which is here. Please go through it, and I've already let me tell you a story. So what happens is, in this example, there is a woman, her name is Kanta, and she used to work as a housemaid in different homes, and that means she is very poor, number one, and it also says that she is not educated. And number three, it also says that the story says that she has a girl child at home and she is sick. Okay, and when we see from this aspect, when we see from this worldly aspect, that means she is poor, number one, and number two is she is uneducated, and number three is she is working in other house. That means her dignity or her self-esteem is very low. This has been explained here. So but what happens is, next to that there is one right which has been mentioned, and this is called as equal right to vote. Now let's tally this Kanta into equal right to vote. Now let's forget about Kanta. Let's start about equal right to vote. Now I'll come to this chapter. Just I told you the brief story of Kanta. Now I'm going to vote. Equal right to vote. Right to vote. Vote. Okay. If I am not wrong, in your class 6 you have already studied about one topic, and this is called as universal adult franchise. Okay, universal equal right to vote, and in case of equal right to vote, there is word which is called as universal adult. Okay, universal adult franchise. So let me explain this word once again, and this is going to be your revision. See, the term universal adult franchise, in some of the book it has been mentioned as universal adult suffrage, and the word suffrage and the franchise, it's the same thing. So what is this universal adult franchise? And this word, it sounds quite complicated, but it's very easy. So let me explain you what is universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise means a person who is above 18 years. A person who is above 18 years, that means a boy or a girl who is above 18 years, they will get a right to vote. See, a person who is above 18 years, they will get a right to vote according to the Constitution of India without any discrimination, which is based on caste, creed, color, sex, gender, religion, place of birth. And this is called as universal adult franchise. So the term universal adult franchise means it is a right which is given to the government by the Constitution of India without any discrimination. Okay, so universal adult franchise means it is a right which is given by the Constitution to a person who is above 18 years without any discrimination. This is called as right to vote. Okay, and there is a discrimination description which is given here. So what happens is you go through it, and I told you about universal adult franchise, and this universal adult franchise means equal right to vote. That means I told you that in case of universal adult franchise, there will be a person will get right to vote according to the Constitution without any discrimination. So without any discrimination means they will get right to vote. Now I'm going to link a story of Kanta. Okay, now what happens is, I told you that Kanta was a servant. Number two, she was uneducated. Number three, her self-esteem was quite low, or the dignity was low. And number four is she was poor. But what happens is, in case of election, she will just go to the place where she will cast her vote, and what happens is she will get the right to vote. And when she stands in a queue in order to cast her vote, at that time what happens is there are different people who are much more educated than Kanta, who are much more uh, financially sound or economically sound than Kanta, but she votes along with her. So what happens is, though Kanta belongs to the lower family or low, this economically she is poor, but what happens is, according to the constitution, by the right of voting, she is standing on the line where she is equal with all the people who are richer than Kanta, who are educated than Kanta, and who are much more economically sound than Kanta. This is called as equal right to vote. That means, according to the Constitution of India, every person who is rich or poor, black or white, uh, and irrespective of his gender, sex, religion, will get a right to vote. And that is called as equal right to vote. And you students, today you all are small. I guess you all are 10, 11, or 12 years old. After 5, 6, 7, or 8 years later on, you will get a right to vote, and you can vote any of the person whomsoever you like. Okay, then this right to vote is called as universal adult franchise. Okay, now I guess you understood this topic, which is universal adult franchise. Okay, so before I go to another topic, let me describe you once more. Number one, we are on the chapter which is democracy in equality in Indian democracy. Equality means same, where every people is equal. Number two is democracy, where the right of people is supreme, or where the power of people is supreme. And I told you about universal adult franchise, and I gave you an example of Kantar. Okay, now there are other kinds of equality. See, I give you one type of equality, which is equal right to vote. And apart from this, there is another kind of equality also, which which I'm going to explain you this now. Now there is a story. Please go through it. There is a story. And there is a great book which is called as Jootan, Joo, Jootan. Okay, name of a book. It's a book, and the writer of this book, the one who wrote this book, was Om Prakash Valmiki. Okay, Om Prakash Valmiki. Now there is another story which has been incidental. Let me say tell you incident rather than story, which is written by Om Prakash Valmiki. And Om Prakash Valmiki is a writer who belongs to a caste which are called as Dalits. Okay, uh, Dalits. And what is Dalit? Dalit is the people who are from the lowermost caste of our Indian society, and these people are called as Dalits. Okay, and what happens is, there is one book which is Jootan, and it is written by a writer. His name was Om Prakash Valmiki, and Om Prakash Valmiki, he was a Dalit boy. He was a Dalit boy, and there is a illustration, and there is a short incident which has been mentioned there. So what happens is, I'm not going through it, and I'm just telling you the story or incident. When this Om Prakash or Valmiki was small, at that time what happened was, he was from a lower class. So what happened was, when he used to go to school at that time, all the students who were from higher classes or higher caste, they used to sit on the chairs and tables, but he was allowed to sit on the floor. He was never allowed bench and desk in order to write or in order to study in the school. And most of the time what happened was, this time, and this boy, when he was in class 4, at that time what happened was, all the boys and girls or his friends used to study inside the class, and the teacher made him sit outside the class, and he used to study from outside the class. And it also says that one day the principal also saw him outside the class, but he did not requested that teacher to let him in. Do you think that it's a justice for them, for that little boy? And what if you and me were kept out of the class when the teacher used to teach? So what happens is at that time our dignity goes down. Dignity means self-esteem. Okay, this thing happened, and moreover it also sees that, and it's not a false story, it is not a story which is carved by him, and it is the story which is based on reality, and it was true, and it is true. Okay, so what happened was one day when he was in class 4, at that time his teacher made him sweep all the grounds and do how big he was. I think he was nearly about 10 to 12 years old when he was in class 12, class 4. At that time in the midday, okay, in the midday, in the mid sun, what he used to do was he had to sweep all the grounds, and it was a very much difficult for him. And on top of that, when his friend used to play outside, at that time he was supposed to sweep the school also. So one day what happened was when he was sweeping that floor, sweeping the school, his father came and his father saw him sweeping the floor. So what did his father do was his father took him away from the school, and he threatened all the teachers that I am not taking my sons out of the school, but rather I will send him in this school, number one. And number two is I will send more boys and girls who belongs to Dalit in this school. And I will make them sit on the bench and the tables, and I will make them, or I'll make their dignity rise, or I will make them treated equally as other students. And this has been mentioned. So what happens is I narrate this story to you. Do you think that little boy who was Dalit, was he treated equally with others? Yes or no? You evaluate by yourself. I'm not going to say anything. But what happened is, at that time, what happens is this Valmiki's self-esteem, prestige, or dignity was down. So, another type of equality. I told you this story. Now, I will relate this other kinds of equality with it. Okay, let me revise it. There is a book called Jutan. It has been written by Om Prakash Valmiki, and he was from Dalit. And I narrated the story. And in case of other types of equality, there is an equality of dignity. Dignity. Okay, recognizing dignity. Dignity means what happens is dignity when a person is treated unequally, their dignity are violated. Your copy says this, your book says this, but the dignity means self-esteem of a person or respect of a person is called as dignity. And when this little guy was kept out of the class, at that time his self-esteem or his respect was decreased. And what happens is there is one of the equality which is dignity. So what happens is you and I today, you all are studying, you all are in class 7. So what happens is in the future you may encounter any type of this type of boys and girls, and do you think that you are supposed to treat them in that way, in that ill way, or you will treat them in a better way? Now what happens is now whatever you can do, it's up to you. Okay, so what happens is there is a recognition of dignity. Now student, now to this much for today, and tomorrow I'm going to upload one more video, and there I will explain you in a different way or the different topics. Today I have explained to you what is democracy, what is equality. I told you the story of Kanta. Told you I explained you what is universal adult franchise, and I told you about Jutan, okay, now which is a book, and I told you about the Dalits. And this much for today, and have a wonderful day, and stay sound, stay safe, and stay home. Thank you very much.